Did you know that during World War II, some American tank crews drove into battle backward? It sounds absolutely insane, but this unconventional tactic, born out of desperation, saved countless lives and became a legendary chapter in armored warfare. This is the story of Lieutenant Marcus Ellis, an engineer who turned the biggest weakness of the American Sherman tank into its greatest strength. The M4 Sherman was the workhorse of the Allied forces, but it had a deadly flaw. Its armor was notoriously thin, especially on the front. When facing the German Panther and Tiger tanks with their powerful 88mm cannons, the Sherman was tragically outmatched. The shells would slice right through the front, where the driver and co-driver sat, often causing the ammunition to ignite. This earned the Sherman the grim nickname Ronson Lighter, because it lit up on the first strike. The crew survival rate was horrifyingly low. Enter Lieutenant Marcus Ellis. He wasn't just a soldier, he was an engineer. He looked at the Sherman not just as a weapon but as a machine. He saw the death toll rising and knew that simply following standard procedure was a death sentence. He analyzed the problem from every angle. The front was weak, but what about the back? The rear of the Sherman housed its massive heavy engine block, a solid chunk of steel. Ellis had a radical idea. What if they used the engine as a shield? What if they drove into combat in reverse? This was a direct violation of every rule in the book. Driving backward meant the main gun faced away from the enemy. The driver's visibility was severely limited, and the tank was slower and less maneuverable. To his superiors, it sounded like suicide. They saw it as cowardice, ordering a retreat before the fight even began. Ellis's proposal was immediately rejected. But he was relentless. He believed in his calculations and argued that saving his men was more important than sticking to a flawed doctrine. He knew that the few seconds it took to turn the turret 180 degrees was a small price to pay for surviving the initial deadly shot from a German ambush. Finally, worn down by Ellis's persistence and facing mounting losses, his battalion commander reluctantly gave him permission to test the theory, but with a stern warning. If it failed, Ellis would face a court-martial. The opportunity came during a brutal engagement in the French countryside. Ellis's platoon was advancing through a narrow valley, a perfect spot for an ambush. Suddenly, the distinct crack of an 88mm gun echoed from the tree line. A German Panther tank had them in its sights. Following standard orders, the other tanks in his company charged forward, right into the kill zone. One by one, they were hit and burst into flames, but Ellis screamed into his radio, "Reverse! Reverse! Gunner, traverse rear!" His driver slammed the Sherman into reverse gear, and the tank lurched backward toward the enemy. The Panther's gunner, likely confused by this bizarre maneuver, fired again. The shell slammed into the rear of Ellis's tank with a deafening clang. The vehicle shuddered violently, and the engine sputtered and died. Smoke poured from the engine compartment, but inside the crew compartment, the men were shaken but unharmed. The thick engine block had absorbed the full impact of the armor-piercing round, just as Ellis had predicted. They were a sitting duck, but they were alive. And more importantly, their main gun was now pointing directly at the enemy. While the Panther crew was likely reloading, assuming they had scored a kill, Ellis's gunner took aim. "Fire!" Ellis yelled. Their 75mm shells struck the Panther's weaker side armor. A second shot followed, and the German tank erupted in a ball of fire. In the chaos, they spotted a second Panther. Again, Ellis's crew, now seasoned by their success, quickly targeted and destroyed it before it could zero in on them. A single Sherman, using a backwards tactic, had survived an ambush and taken out two superior enemy tanks. Word of this incredible success spread like wildfire. Initially met with skepticism, the results were impossible to ignore. Other crews in Ellis's battalion started adopting the Ellis method. The change was dramatic. In situations where they were ambushed, crew survivability jumped by an astonishing 41%. Tanks were still getting knocked out, but the men inside were living to fight another day. An immobilized tank could be recovered and repaired. A dead crew could not. The tactic eventually caught the attention of the High Command of the 1st Armored Division. After reviewing the after-action reports and the undeniable statistics, they officially sanctioned the reverse driving tactic for use in high-risk situations. It became a standard, albeit unconventional, part of their operational procedures. It was a testament to the fact that adaptability and innovation on the battlefield are just as powerful as armor and firepower. Interestingly, the story doesn't end there. German intelligence actually took note of this strange new American tactic. Their reports mentioned U.S. tanks advancing backward, a confusing and unpredictable maneuver that forced German gunners to readjust their aim. After the war, the U.S. Army Armor School at Fort Knox studied Ellis's tactic in depth. It became a key case study in their advanced tank commander course. The lesson was clear: rules and doctrine are important, but they should never override critical thinking and the primary mission of keeping your soldiers alive. The story of Lieutenant Marcus Ellis teaches a profound lesson that extends far beyond the battlefield. Sometimes, the most effective way to move forward is to take a strategic step back. It proves that one person's courage to challenge the status quo can change everything. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this story of ingenuity and courage as fascinating as I did, please hit that like button and subscribe for more incredible stories from history. Let me know in the comments what you think about this unconventional tactic. See you in the next video.